In this video, we are going to show you how to create an anime sprite to make the game more interesting. So let's go ahead and choose a sprite. This time we are going to choose a bat. The bat is a little bit too big, so we are going to change its size to 30%. Okay, that looks good. Now, an important concept in Scratch is that if you want to create multiple sprites of the same kind, you need to use a clone. So let's click on the events panel on the left hand side and choose the event when the green flag is clicked. So when the green flag is clicked, that means when the game starts, we want to start creating the bat clone. Right, so on the left hand side again, click on Control and scroll to the block called Create Clone of Myself. Okay. So what it means is that when the green flag is clicked, it's going to create one clone, which is not very interesting if you only have one enemy. So we want to continuously do it, so we scroll up. Again, within the control section, there is this forever loop. So we go ahead and put it around the create clone. So what it means is that when the green flag is clicked, the bat is going to create itself continuously. Now, if you go ahead and click the green button, you will notice that there's nothing changing on the screen. It is because when the clone is created, it's created in an exact location of the bat itself. So they're all overlapping each other. What we want to do is to position the bat, specifically the bat clone, away in a different location. So let's go ahead and we stay within the control section and you choose this new block called When I Start as a Clone. So this block, anything that is attached to this block is only executed by the clone. So when it starts as a clone, we want to change its location. So location will be in the motion tab. So go ahead and click on the motion tab. Now we want to create a bat from the top of the screen. So let's use this block called Go to X and Y. Now we know that the y-axis, the top of the y-axis here is 240. So we can type 240 here, right? But a better way to do it, instead of putting 240 here, is to actually create a variable. The reason for a variable is because that in the future, if this playing area, the coordinate is changed, then you can easily modify the variable and you don't have to search everywhere within your script where this 240 exists. Let's go ahead and create a variable to store this value. So let's click on the variable on the left hand side and click make a variable. So we want to make sure that this variable is available for all sprites. So, and the variable name, we will call it max y. So the max y is initialized to 0. We want to change it to 240. The best place to initialize these kind of variables is in the stage. So let's click on the right hand side, click on stage, and then go back to the event on the left hand side and drag the green flag over. So when the green flag is clicked, we want to Let's go back to the variable, set the max y to 240. Okay, so now if we go back to the bats, instead of writing 240 here, we can now drag and drop the max y over. So now this is the new place holder for the maximum y value. Similarly for x, now when the clone is created, we want to create it in different location on the screen, left and right. Right? So now it's at the top of the screen, which is good, but we want to move it along the x-axis in a random fashion. Before we do that, let's remove this max y on the screen because we don't need to see it. So let's go ahead and uncheck it at a variable. Now, on the x-axis, we can also create the different variable, min x, and max, and then the max x. Okay. All right. So just like before, to initialize these two values, we go to the stage area. Now, in the stage area, we are going to add a set values, set max x. All right, so we want to set the max x to 180 because that's the edge of the screen here, and then the min x should be minus 180, which is the x on this side of the screen. Now go back to the bats. Again, we don't need to show these two variable on the screen, so let's remove them. Okay, so we have to go to x coordinate. We want it to be a random position. So on the left hand side, click on operators and drag and drop the pick random number. So it should be a random value between minimum x and maximum x. So it's very important to make sure that the first block for x is relating to a random number between min x and max x, and then for y it will be max y. So let's go ahead and try it. Click on go. Oh, as you can see, the bat is created along the top edge of the screen and in a random location. Now, one thing you notice is that these bats, which is the container of all of the bat scripts, is visible on the screen and is not doing much. So let's hide it so that it won't be shown. Okay. Now, because we hide this bat, when we create a clone, it's going to inherit that attribute as well. So we are going to go to the left-hand side of the screen, click on look, and then scroll down and drag and drop the show attribute to the block when I start as a clone. So in this case, then it will the clone can show itself. So let's try it. Okay, yeah, so that's exactly like it before. Let's stop. Okay. So one thing that I'm not sure if you notice is actually a bug in the program. When I start the application, you see that the bat is created only within this range. So it appears that there's some problem with my min x and max x value. So let's go ahead and take a look on the stage. So I did make a mistake because the max y is actually not 240. The max y is actually 180. So now this shows you the one of the benefits of using a variable, because now I can easily change it to 180, and then the max x is actually 240, min x is minus 240. So by changing this variable in the single location, all of a sudden that the value will take effect on the bat itself. So let's click and take a look. Okay, good. So now the bat is created all over the horizontal axis. That's good. All right, so let's stop it. Okay, so now when the bat clone is created, they're all on the top at the top of the screen, which is not very interesting. We want to make sure the bat can move around. In order to do that, we have to create some actions. What my design is that when the bat is created on the left-hand side of the screen, I want the bat to circle in the counterclockwise direction. If the bat is created on the right-hand side of the screen, I want it to move in the clockwise direction. So this can be done by, first of all, creating a variable called clockwise. Is clockwise, because this will be a Boolean variable. And also, the variable should only be visible to this sprite, because no other sprite needs to know about this. So click for this sprite only, and click OK. Again, we don't need to show it, so let's uncheck the check mark. Now, in order to set the is clockwise variable, we want to check what is the value that is picked by this random block. So we go ahead and click on the control and drag and drop the if then block over. Inside the if then block operator, we want to check if the x is created on the right hand side. So that means when x is greater than 0. So now we first of all change this 50 to 0, and then go back to the motion and scroll down, select the x position, so that now the if block reads as if x position is greater than 0. That means on the right hand side of the screen. We want to now set the variable. Click on the variable tab. Now we can then change the is clockwise to 1. Okay. As a good practice, it's also a good idea to initialize the value. So when I start as a clone, so let's also set the is clockwise value to 0. So to make sure that it is 0 to begin with. Okay, so now we have stored the value for is clockwise to either 0 or 1. We are now going to make use of it to move the bats. First thing we want to do is we want to click on the control tab and put the forever loop right after the if block. And then within the forever loop, we are going to add the if then else block. Here, the if then else block will we will use the is clockwise variable to decide which way we are turning. So on the left hand side, let's click on the operator and then choose the block where it says equals and put it inside the placeholder. And then I am going to change the 50 to 1. Go back to the left hand side variables and drag and drop the is clockwise over. Okay. So when is clockwise equals to 1, then I want to turn in the clockwise direction. The way to do it is to change the direction. Click on the motion tab, and here it has the clockwise tab, clockwise block. So let's do that. Click is clockwise, and then if it's not clockwise, then we want to do it counterclockwise. Okay, so we're going to do that. Choose the other one. Okay, after it's turned, then it needs to move. Otherwise, the bat, you won't see it moving. So let's move 10 steps. All right, so let's take a look to see what it looks like. All right, so that looks good. So the bats are created. Oh wow, this is a little bit too many bats, right? So let's put a bit of control over here so that it doesn't continuously create a clone too fast. In order to do that, we click on the control events, the control here. And put a wait so that it will wait for, let's change it to 0.5 seconds so that it doesn't wait too long either. So let's try it. Okay, that looks good. So after half a second, it creates a bat in a random location, and depending on which direction it's created, it's going to turn either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Okay, there you go. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we are going to look at how the bat and the dragonfly interact with each other.